I would like to give an intro to a man who's truly been just astronomical to the liberty movement and the freedom movement. He's a prolific author. I would encourage everyone to pick up his books. I mean, they're absolutely phenomenal reads. And he's also, I consider him a mastermind behind the freedom movement. And without further ado, let's give a warm Texas welcome to Dr. Tom Woods.
Wow, gosh, he is so much taller than I am. All right, thank you guys. I think this is like my second or third time in Austin. Always fun to be here. I love the Keep Austin Weird shirts. That's fantastic. Whereas you don't really see that so much in Topeka, Kansas, where I come from. It's sort of, I guess this isn't Santorum country down here, but it sure is in my neck of the woods. And I guess I've more or less found like 20 people in Topeka that are pretty much okay, and that's good enough. I only have time for 20 people anyway with 4 little kids, so it's sort of worked out, but I'm not exactly in the heart of Ron Paul country, but thanks to the internet, I'm one click away from all you good people. Now, I guess the way I feel about the situation today is that on the one hand, things are better than ever, and on the other hand, things are worse than ever, simultaneously. So, for instance, how are they worse than ever? Well, I don't need to fill you in on this, but we have a Barack Obama, and we have a Mitt Romney, and we have a Democratic Party and a Republican Party that when push comes to shove, they'll wind up doing the same rotten things. They'll both support the bailouts and the wars, the same rhetoric and all that. So we feel like it's frustrating that even when we win, well, then they change the rules so that they make us lose. And it seems frustrating. It seems there's no point to it, why we keep struggling and they stack the deck against us. But then on the other hand, things are going better than ever in the sense that right now, we are living through times that are so revolutionary. I mean, they make Gutenberg look like a pathetic bum. Because you think about it today, think of the potential that every individual has in all different areas of endeavor to get his work and his ideas and the fruits of his passion out there to the world. Like a musician doesn't have to go to Columbia Records and beg to get on their label. A musician can record high-quality stuff and just stream it out there to the public through the internet. Just go right over the heads of people. Or people can make documentaries now. Like a regular guy can go out and make a documentary. We all watch it and love it. People can make movies just with simple stuff that they can buy. It's unbelievable we're living through this. Well, that flows over into politics and government and economics and all that. Because you think about it, today, any one of us can express an opinion that can be instantly seen and read anywhere in the world. Like any one of us can get a crummy camera, sit in front of that camera, denounce somebody, and that denunciation is available anywhere in the world. This is astonishing. So what we are seeing is the decentralization of information transmission. Now what does that mean? It means that, in the old days we used to feel like it's hopeless because if we're going to be successful, we got to somehow take over ABC News. We got to get all good people in those jobs as reporters and newscasters, whatever. And of course that's totally hopeless. There's no chance of that happening. But now or we can take over the New York Times. We just get a lot of good reporters, and the New York Times will win. We realize there's no hope of that happening. But now an even greater prospect has opened that maybe ABC and the New York Times will just crumble before our eyes. Now we just go around them. We create our own parallel institutions. If you had talked about this 20 years ago, we would have thought you were talking about something out of the Jetsons. This is impossible. So instead of trying to take them over, we should bid them good riddance. Bye-bye. It's been fun having you. It's been fun having the propaganda, but they're gone. And meanwhile, we can pick up the pieces and replace them instead of fruitlessly trying to take them over. That can't be done. The bad guys are better at that than we are anyway. Or the universities. Talk about a hopeless cause. Well, if we can just get some good, sensible people hired as professors, then we'll fix up these universities. There's even less chance of that happening than there is me taking over ABC. That is not not going to happen. But now today we look at the dire straits a lot of these universities are in. They're expecting kids to pay 40, 50 grand a year for their giant buildings and sports complexes and whatever. This is coming to an end. Low-cost alternatives are coming online all the time. And so again, instead of thinking, well, we got to take over every university and get sensible people in there, we go around them. Information transmission is becoming decentralized. And this is one thing I am going to mention to you guys, that I have a new initiative that I worked on for a year that does basically do this. It goes around the universities. It's my website called libertyclassroom.com. So you don't have to learn from Professor Mark so-and-so. You can learn from me over the internet. It's unbelievable, right? Or Kevin Gutzman. It's incredible what's available if we just do it. Now, what do these institutions function as? The media and the universities. What's their role? Their role is to be gatekeepers. Gatekeepers of approved opinion. They will tell us what we're allowed to believe. So this is what's so glorious, that now the gates are still up, as one of my friends puts it. The gates are still up. There's still a U.S. News and World Report. There's still a New York Times. The gates are still up, but now the walls are coming down all around them. What do gatekeepers do? Apart from telling us what opinions are acceptable, and that Ron Paul, he's not on the list. How dare you support him? It's their job to make us happy in our own servitude. That's their job. Hundreds of years ago, there was a political philosopher, Etienne de la Boétie, who asked the question, how come people consent under totalitarian regimes? Why don't they instantly rise up? The regime is always a small minority of the population ruling over the masses. Why don't the masses just rise up and say, we're not going to be ruled by you people? A very good question. But it's a question you can pose to all different regimes, whether totalitarian or authoritarian or some of these soft totalitarian regimes, whatever. The question is, the regime is always a minority of the population. How does it successfully rule over all these people? And the answer is, if I may borrow a phrase from a left-winger, this wonderful phrase, the engineering of consent. It is the object of the media and the universities to convince us that it's good for us that there should be saddles on our backs and these people should be riding us. It's their job to convince us that without the gatekeepers, without our wise overlords, without Nancy Pelosi, without John McCain, we'd all be dead in a ditch and our kids would be getting their limbs blown off and all this stuff, that my usual trope. Or if we didn't have the Federal Reserve, where would we be? Good heavens, we'd have instability if we didn't have the Fed. These are the sorts of things it's the gatekeeper's job to do, is to make us think, yeah, you know what, we might not like paying those taxes, but the alternative is chaos, people. You don't want that. That's what their role is. And now those institutions are crumbling, whose job it is to brainwash us into thinking that this is the best of all possible worlds. What's the other job of the gatekeepers? To make sure if anybody comes along and tries to tell the truth about our situation, to tell us the truth about the Fed, or the nature of government, or what liberty is all about, that person is hounded out of political life. But more than that, that person is made into an unperson. That we don't mention that person. If you support that person, you will be denounced. You will be smeared. And yet, the beauty of Ron Paul is that he said things that anybody else in this system would immediately, when pressure is put on them, immediately back down on. But when he had pressure put on him, he doubled down and became more insistent on his original point. And suddenly we said, the world is changing here. Yeah! This one lone man, and this is what Brian Doherty says in his very good new biography of Ron Paul and the Ron Paul movement. He quotes a Ron Paul supporter who had never heard of Ron Paul till he turned on the debates and he saw that Giuliani exchange. And he thought, when Giuliani demanded that Ron Paul take back his remarks about U.S. government foreign policy, this viewer of the debate said, well, of course he's going to just take it back and that'll be it. He said, I was blown away when the guy said, no, I won't take it back, and to the contrary, I'm going to explain it further. He said, I feel like at that moment, the world changed forever, because finally, somebody broke through. Somebody sliced through this, what it turns out to have been a paper wall the gatekeepers were keeping up. Now, how good are gatekeepers? They're only as good as the people who agree to go along with what they say. And there are fewer and fewer of those. Now think about the demographic. Where did Ron Paul do the worst? He did the worst among the oldest segment of the population. Now, I don't mean to, I know some of us are getting up there. All present company is excluded. But these are people who are accustomed to doing as the gatekeepers tell them. They're used to being, okay. I mean, these are people who, like me, grew up with 3 television channels. You know, there's not a whole lot of opinion. You get used to just accepting what you're being told. It's the young people who haven't bought into that, who don't just go along with what they're told, who, when they heard this Ron Paul, he's just radioactive, you better stay away from him, man. Their first response was, wow, I got to check this guy out. That was great, because unfortunately this older demographic, a great many of them, their view was, Fox News says he's bad, that's all I need to hear. So what that the other candidates have views that are totally opposed to what I supposedly believe in. I increasingly am skeptical they even believe these things. But they were willing, a lot of the electorate, the older folks, were willing to support people who were for the bailouts, people who were totally clueless about the financial crisis. Here you got Ron Paul in 2001 telling the future. He sits there on the House floor and says, okay, the Fed just blew up this .com bubble, and now it's blew up a housing bubble, and that's going to burst and ruin a lot of people's lives. He predicts the future, and these people go, nah, I think I'd rather vote for Mitt Romney. Like, what are you talking about? Or, yeah, education. I want education to be run by local parents at the local level. But, I'll just take Mitt Romney. I mean, of course, Romney favors no child left behind. Like, the only guy who actually holds any of the views these people pretend to hold, they refuse to listen to. As the gatekeepers have told me, he's a kook citizen. They don't stop to think, now wait a minute. If somebody were really to come along who was going to fix this country, don't you think the media would call him names? Wouldn't you expect that? So when somebody is being called those names, don't you stop and think, well, you know what? Maybe this is the guy. But that's what the young people have been doing. So realize now, it's an unbelievably explosive combination. We've got the decentralization of the transmission of information, so that we don't have to sit there and wait for Walter Cronkite to tell us the information the government wants us to have. We can find the information. Each one of us can be a transmitter of information. We got that. We got the gatekeepers are coming crashing down. Every day we get some wonderful report about how much in the red the Washington Post is and the New York Times is, and their ad revenues are falling. And I mean, it's like you're in heaven. Like you almost believe, like I'm probably dead. Like there's no way this is happening in my life. How did I live to see this? So that second thing is happening. But then the real explosive combination, the third factor, is the growth of this young Ron Paul movement of people who are skeptical of the official line, who don't just want to be told what to think, and who are ready to hear truth tellers. And they're listening to this. I mean, this Ron Paul, he will say to them, you know, I really got started, I read some books by the Austrian economists. And these kids will say, oh yeah, tell me more. Wow, really? You read economists? And then he'll say, yeah, you know, this Ludwig von Mises, he's a great economist. He has a 900-page book I recommend. And these kids will say, oh, you want me to read a 900-page book? Done. This is incredible. I mean, whoever, if Mitt Romney could ask you to read like the instructions for your microwave oven, you wouldn't do it. And yet, I mean, this is an amazing thing that's going on. These people, they crave knowledge. They want knowledge. Nothing like this. I mean, what other political candidate ever made people go to the library and say, where's your economics section? Where's political philosophy? And sorry, I don't want to read anything written after 1860. Yeah. I just want Bastiat and before. I mean, this is unbelievable. So now that we've got all this energy built up, the natural question that follows is, what do we do next? What's the next step? Now, at some level, I understand, you know, libertarians who say, well, we don't have to all do the same thing. I'll do my thing, you do your thing. Yeah, I know, I agree with that. That's all right, I know that. But on the other hand, it would be nice for us all to be able to keep in touch with each other and know what's going on, have sort of a clearinghouse of information for ourselves. That would be nice. But what I want to focus on tonight is something that each one of us as an individual can do, and focus on what are you going to do next. And this is really what Jason Rink said, but I want to amplify that, because this is not just some throwaway line. We are still very much a minority. We hang around with each other and we sort of feel like, wow, the whole society wants to end the Fed. How did this happen? Yeah, and then you take a trip to the mall and it's back to depression. Oh, yeah, these people don't even know who Ben Bernanke is. How are they surviving? So what are we going to do next? Because we can't afford spectators in this movement. We don't have the manpower for spectators. Everybody's got to be actively involved. And everybody has some talent. Everybody's got something. I mean, some people are very good with their hands. Somebody who's a carpenter, to me, seems like a magician. I have absolutely no idea. I've seen houses being built right across from mine. As far as I know, this is being done by magic. I have no idea how this works. I have no idea how my car runs. I keep speculating that it's angels in there that make it go. I don't know. I have no idea. I totally respect people who have these talents, or people who can organize, get an organization going, get an event going. I couldn't do that. I have no idea what I'm doing. So it's easy for me to find my niche because I stink at everything. Basically, I stink at how-to projects, do it yourself, whatever. I can't do any of this. My wife can attest to this. I don't know how to change a tire. I mean, it's really bad. Whereas my wife grew up in rural Oklahoma, so she can change a tire while shooting a deer. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, she's great. She's holding up this household, I'm telling you. But so what can I do? I write. That's what I do. I'm over there, my table over there. I write books. I do that sort of thing. I can explain things so that people can get them. Because my trick to that is, I think, well, when I was trying to understand this complicated thing, what is it that I wished the explainer had just said to me from the start, so I wouldn't have had to spend 3 hours trying to figure it out? And I just tell people that from the beginning. This is the thing I wish I had learned from the start. I would have understood all this stuff. So that's sort of what my niche is. But everybody's got something. Because and plus you're in Austin. Ask the people at Brave New Books what you can do. Yeah. Talk to Jason Rink over here with the Foundation for a Free Society. You talk to the Liberty for All PAC people. They'll find something for you. And if you still feel like you can't quite fit in, you don't quite know what your niche is, you can't ever go wrong by reading. Because the one person on this earth you can improve for a fact is always yourself. Read something good. Read something that's recommended by our circles as being a foundational text. Read it and then write a little something about it. Make the time. Find the time. Just write a little something about it. Even start a blog. Just write about what you read. That helps you to understand it better. It helps you to retain it. It helps you to improve your writing skills. You are never going to get it to a point in your life where you say, I wish I didn't have these writing skills. What a pain. You'll never say that. You'll always be glad you have them. Even if you become brave enough, make videos about what you're reading. And that will help you overcome your fear of speaking to people. Again, this is a talent you are never going to be sorry you have. The one thing you cannot do is just give up because the work is just too darn hard. That's the one thing we can't do. I have a friend who just wrote an article about the problem with the red hot person. The red hot person jumps into a movement and is just red hot about it. And then 3 weeks later, it just seems too hard and then it's just gone, never heard from again. Or defeats come before victories. And so the person is gone and never heard from again. Well, we're not in a movement that's going to have big-time major victories in the immediate future in terms of a lot of the things that we favor. That's not the way this struggle works. We're involved in a struggle that's been going on since before all of us were born, and it's going to persist long after all of us are dead. We got to be in this for the long haul, but we got to say to ourselves that at some level, it is a great privilege to be here at this moment in history, working with each other in the greatest drama, secular drama in history, which is namely the drama of liberty versus power. We are at the heart of this, and again, we're at a turning point. It's like a Gutenberg moment in Western civilization. We're in the middle of it. And so we can't ever get discouraged that, it's not happening fast enough, whatever. Then this is just not for you. What you have to think about is, number one, you are making the bad guys unhappy every time you prove to them that you have unplugged from them. That annoys me. But secondly, What are you fighting for? You're fighting for justice. You're fighting for things that are good and right. You're fighting for truth against ignorance and lies. And as we're fighting, we're building up camaraderie and friendship with each other. There's nothing not to love about what it is that we're doing. And so that's why I say, ladies and gentlemen, don't lose heart. We're part of something that some of the greatest people ever were part of, and they didn't live to see even the glimmer of what we see today. If we keep fighting, then those who come after us will say, thank you for not giving up. All right, thanks everybody.